Well, Ancestry's done it again. They have come out with a new tool. This is the DNA auto clustering that we have been waiting for some time on Ancestry. And so we're going to jump into how it all works, but it's really very cool. I have to hand it to them. They surprised us with it. We weren't actually expecting it because they've been keeping it a big secret for a while. So all right, we're going to jump over to a PowerPoint presentation so that I can share it with you. Let's jump into exactly what it is and why you are interested in doing clustering. Now, it is a Pro Tool, so if you're a Pro Tools member of Ancestry, that is an add-on to your regular subscription, then you will have it. And of course, you would have to have taken a DNA test in order to to get the cousin matches. Okay, so Ancestry is brand new this week. I just got it, and a few people got it last week. So it does this auto clustering. Now, auto clustering is not new. It has been on MyHeritage's website for several years, and it is a tool that originally, I believe, was born from the Leeds method and Everett Jan Blum's technology. And MyHeritage has had it for a few years, but now Ancestry is starting to catch up. Okay, so here we have some DNA matches. In fact, let me see if I can jump in here and get this a little bit smaller, or bigger for you, smaller for me. And so here what we have is the same DNA cousin matches across the top. Here you'll see as well as down the side. And I realize I am probably in the screen completely. There we go. So as you can see, what this is doing is taking all of your DNA matches and it's clustering them together. All of those people who have genetic connections with each other are going to end up in one of the colored boxes. Okay. And then down, if you continue to scroll on down, you'll see how many people are in each cluster, and you can actually open that up and take a look at that. So that is kind of what it looks like on your screen. And so why do we do these clusters? Well, there is a reason for it. And it is so that when we are doing our family tree, we can go, okay, wait a minute. I want to research a certain part of my family tree, and I want to be able to find more information about the next generation back or the current ancestor that you're working on. And sometimes those DNA cousins can help us either with information that they've inherited or their trees maybe. Now keep in mind, member trees may have issues, may not be perfect, but we're not all perfect. But it's certainly a place for you to reach out and talk to them. So let's take a look at this. Here are your parents, here are your grandparents, here are your great-grandparents, and your 2 times great-grandparents, and so on, right? Well, let's take a step backwards for a moment and focus on the great-grandparents for a moment. Now, it is a very popular strategy to group your DNA cousins into the 4 branches of your family tree that represent your grandparents. Well, how do we do that? We do that by focusing on the great-grandparents. This is the ancestral couple for each one of your grandparents, the parents of your grandparents, right? These people begot these and your grandparents, right? So it is the great-grandparents that we're focused on. And the reason I say that is because using the great-grandparents as an ancestral couple, those are going to be the common ancestors often for your second cousins. When we're trying to find a specific information about our grandparents and our great-grandparents, we're using second cousins as tools, as hints, as clues. The information that they have in their family trees or that they may have inherited may have information that can help us, okay? So we want to focus on one thing at a time. Don't get overwhelmed by all the DNA matches and all the clustering. We're going to focus. And so in this case, I'm surmising that we are going to focus on my great-grandparents on my father's side of the family. And when we do that, the two G's, this is something I came up with a long time ago, just count the G's. Great and grand, those are two G's, so you're looking for those second cousins. That's how you can remember it. So great-great-grandparents would be third cousins, or three G's, okay? And so that's just a quick and dirty way to remember it. Now, you got to remember also that some of your DNA cousins may be second cousins once removed, second cousins twice removed. That's fine. Those are just generational differences. They're in the same bucket, though, okay? So now, when you think about this, we've been doing this for a while over on Ancestry by grouping our DNA matches into groups that we were creating. And Ancestry had also gone a step further after they came out with the grouping and divided our DNA match list by parents, which is great. We're dying for them to get to the grandparent level, but they haven't gotten there yet. But we have been able to create a new group. And let me drop this logo so you can see everything. So we've been able to create these groups. I've always done it by ancestral couple. You do you, whatever rocks your world. But the clustering, I think really, just like we have been talking about for years, is a starter point is to do this by the 4 grandparents, right? So we've been doing this in the all match list. Now we want to click over to the new by cluster. And if you have the Pro Tools, you'll have this. And now you can get into the cluster area from that tab. Okay, so how does this work? Okay, so we have the same DNA cousins across the top as we have down the side. Okay, all of this, what this box represents is the people that share with themselves, basically. They're matching to themselves. So what we can do, though, is we can take a look at how we match with a different person. Okay? So here we have SW and we have JR. And when we follow that across, we have this box. And this, when we hover over this, by the way, Ancestry, the hover over feature is a little annoying. If there's a way we could click into it instead of hovering, that would be great. But we can get more information here, okay? And it will also give us the predicted relationship. Now, I've got things blurred out because of privacy reasons, but you can see how they relate to each other. Not only does everybody in this cluster relate to me, but I can see how they relate to each other. Well, when I'm trying to figure out how branches of the tree come together, if this happens to be, this is not the case here, but if these happen to be siblings, then, oh my gosh, I've just figured out, another little piece of the puzzle, right? So by doing this, you can start to see how everybody is related to everybody from the same branch of the tree. Let me explain. Before I get into that too much, one of the other things you can do too is hover over any of the labeling across the top here, and it will give you some additional information. Here it's showing that this little icon means that this person's already in my tree. This means we have a common ancestor. This means I have put notes in there and that I have given it a group. So, and if I had multiple groups for this person, it would show you the multiple groups. If you're finding anything helpful so far, I hope you'll subscribe and like the channel. I appreciate it. So now if we go back over to the DNA match list for a minute, you can see we have common ancestors. We have the same groups over here. All of this is the same. You can see where I've put notes in. I just did this for the sake of this presentation, but you get the idea. Okay, so on the Pro Tools, when we're looking at both sides here, you can see all of these different clusters, right? Well, once you start digging around and you start looking at these in depth, you go, oh, wait a minute. I know exactly some of these cousins. I know who they are. And they come from a certain branch of the tree. Some of these are first cousins, second cousins. I know these people. And so you can identify which branch of the tree they come from. In this case, this cluster comes from these are all descendants now from my Madsen-Jensen ancestral couple. This cluster comes from my Henley-Winslow ancestral couple. This cluster, this little pink cluster, comes from my grandparents on my mother's side. This cluster is my great-grandparents on my mother's side. So these two clusters up top here, and there's no specific organization as to it doesn't matter about grandparents or great-grandparents. It has to do with the number of matches. We'll get to that in a second. But it just so happens that the bigger number of matches that I have here are coming from my father's side of the family, the Madsen-Jensen line. And then here is also on my father's side. And then these are great-grandparents, but they would also represent the branches of two of my grandparents on my grandfather and my grandmother on the paternal side. This happens to be all of the descendants from my grandparents clustered together. And then another great-grandparent couple. Okay, there are more down here. I haven't finished exploring them. I just got a hold of this yesterday, so this is kind of fun. So the smaller clusters equals the smaller number of matches, not necessarily the generational difference. So as you know, we're going from groups getting bigger and smaller. These are small clusters because there's only a few people in them. If all of a sudden we did a whole mess of DNA on some of these smaller clusters, we did a bunch of testing and these sizes would probably grow, okay? The gray blocks means that, and then you see these up here where I've got the red blocks designated here. This means that the match is in more than one cluster, okay? So for me, these happen to be my first cousins. So you can see them here. I've pulled this up to where you can see all of the first cluster and a little snippet of the second cluster. These gray boxes are my first cousins, and they happen to be in both clusters. So that is why they are grayed out. They are just as important to me as any other, just saying. So now you can cluster by maternal or paternal, which is also pretty cool. And so with that, we can go and take a look at that. So here again, I've got my grandfather on my father's side, the cluster for them, my grandmother on my father's side, the paternal grandmother here, and so on, right? Now what I can do, you could even do this yourself. Create a PowerPoint presentation, grab a screenshot of the clusters, and then you could sit there and go, okay, this one belongs to this cluster, and this group belongs to this cluster, and this ancestral couple belongs to this cluster, and you can do this and see how the different clusters match up. I have not even had a chance to sit and play with all of it yet. So I'm still wanting to dig in and go, okay, exactly where are these people and where do they come from? I want to know where these other clusters are coming from as well. Now you may want to know where this pink one comes from, and it comes from my grandparents. So that takes care of the first, 4 or 5 clusters that we have here. And so, yeah, it's fun. It's cool. And so what I can do also, you know, is start hovering around, taking a look at the different matches and start identifying them, even going back in. These are all hyperlinks, so you could drill into those hyperlinks and see the DNA cousins closer and add notes to them. Oh, I didn't realize they were part of the Madsen-Jensen line. Great. Let me add a note. Oh, I figured out because of this relationship, I realized that this is the sister of so-and-so, right? So you can figure this out. It's not that hard. It's actually easier than it was grouping the DNA matches. My advice to you is to focus. Focus on one group at a time. Pick the part of the tree that you want to research, and then go find the cluster that matches that part of the tree. And just focus on that part of the the clustering tools so that you can go and see if you can find some more clues in some of these DNA matches. You know, here you can see when you look at this, how many matches I have all the way down to this gray box here, all of these people, and it's really only, you know, what is that? Maybe 15-ish DNA cousins to go look at. It's not too many. And so you can go through and you can take a look and see if they have any more clues, just like we've been doing before. Again, remember, DNA trees, the member trees might not be accurate. So you need to reach out to those DNA cousins and see if they'll answer your email. And hopefully they do. Again, I hope you'll consider subscribing. And there is going to be a handout for this. I'm working on it right now, and by the time this video comes out, it should be available, and that will be for all the channel members. That's the YouTube channel members at the information access level, the Patreon members at the Happy Dance level, all of the Genealogy TV Academy members, and if you are not a member of anything, you're certainly welcome if you want to pick it up at genealogytv.org/handouts, and you can find it there. So with that, I'm going to stop the presentation for a moment and go back over to the actual website. So you can see that you're in the clusters area. You can click into any one of them. You can then click all the way through and see them. It's really nice little tool that we can now use. And for those of you who have been a little bit mystified by how to do your DNA grouping, you can certainly do it much faster now with the DNA clusters. All right, that's all I have for you today. We'll see you in the next episode.